good with either side. I'm good. I'm good with any old side. Cool. I like consistency. Consistency is good. So then I can permanently move this microphone down for me, right? So I don't have to keep moving it up and down. Oh my gosh, those are happy people.
Hello, sir. Shabbat Shalom. Throwback Shabbat. Hello. Shabbat Shalom. Good to see you too.
I did.
Yes, you do.
It's Flashback Friday. Hi. How are you? Okay. There you go. Let me see if Mark and Wendy have one. Do you have a pen? Pencil's good.
Hi, how are you, Mike?
Thank you.
So,
Good job. It's so good to see you. It's Janine.
Oh, the Wolfsons.
Rabbi Pasowski that I officiated most of these funerals, so I actually know how to pronounce all these names.
came up to me and said, unless you can tell me how to say his name.
It's Julian. Yeah.
Okay.
I remember when
Perfect.
he passed away. Yeah.
So that you're still here?
Mhm. Yeah. So it's nice to be able to see the names.
Not always easy.
Nope.
So taking it easy this summer?
I am having a fantastic summer. Our children are at camp for 4 weeks. And we're mostly on the boat all summer. So it's a great summer. Amazing.
If you want. Okay.
You two okay sharing podium?
Oh, yeah. He's energy.
We're ready for fun. All right, we are 1 minute away from starting.
No measuring.
6 o'clock, ready to go. And Kim's and Chris are together. No, and I have to pick up Julie.
How special. Yeah, that's great.
6 o'clock, we're ready to go. All right.
Maya
Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Please join us. Maya Hayom. Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Well, good Shabbos, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
I'm Rabbi Sherry Shama, and I bet for some of you are looking at me going, what is going on this week? So with Rabbi Noah on sabbatical, Rabbi Pawlowski is taking a well-deserved Shabbat for herself. Rabbi Noah asked me to come and lead services along with Mark and Wendy, and we aptly titled it Throwback Shabbat or Flashback Friday. So it was 22 years ago that I know, wait till I tell you, my daughter started college in the fall. So it was 22 years ago that I arrived here to be the assistant rabbi at Congregation Shalom, and here we are. It is a joy and a privilege to be on the bima in the Weingarten Chapel with Mark and Wendy Cohn. And so welcome to Flashback Friday. Sit back, enjoy. The most important thing is that the sun is shining. It's Milwaukee. The weather is gorgeous. And we should soak up each and every one of these Shabbatot because they're a gift. That we can be outside, that we can be together is the gift of Shabbat, which is also the gift of time. To take a breath, to let the cares of the last week fall by the wayside, and get ready to welcome in a Shabbat of peace. Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat, nikabla, lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat, nikabla.
Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, hishmi'anu el hamyuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem u'tiferet v'hitilah. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat, nikabla. Hitoreri, kiva orech kumihori. Uri daberai, kevod Adonai alayik nigla. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat, nikabla. Boi v'shalom atet bala, gam besimcha uv'tzochola. Toch emunei u'amsegula, boi kala.
Join together.
Lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat, nikabla.
So we rose at that point in Lachadodi so we could welcome the Shabbat bride into our midst. If you want to go ahead and have a seat, you can have a seat. Now that the Shabbat bride is here and we are ready for our Shabbat to begin. We are now on page 5, the top of the page. For the good in us which calls us to a better life, we give thanks. For the strength to improve the world with our hearts and hands, we give praise. For the peace in us which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful.
For all these we give thanks to the Creator of life and nature. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah, Yalmad Yivrach Yerutei v'yamlich Malchutei, B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayedecho Beit Yisrael, Bagala, Bagala, Uvizman Kari v'yimeru. Yehi Shmei Rabba mevarach, le'al amolal me'al maya, yitbarach, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, Shemei Kudashah, Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran bialma, v'yimeru. Amen.
Turning now to page 6, we rise for the Baruch Hu, our call to worship.
Lai, la, lai, 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 lai.
Page 6, we join together in the Hebrew for Ma'ariv Aravim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bidvaro Ma'ariv Aravim, b'chokhmah poteach sha'arim, uvitvuna meshaneh itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umsader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Uma'avir yom umevi laila, uma'avdil ben yom uvein laila, Adonai tzevaot shemo, El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam ba'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv
Aravim.
Joining together now in the top of page 8 in the English for Ahavat Olam. One and only God, you have made each of us unique and formed us to be united in one family of life. Be with us, Eternal One, as we seek to unite our lives with your power and your love. We proclaim now your oneness and our own hope for unity. We acclaim your creative power in the universe and in ourselves, the law that binds world to world and heart to heart.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
You shall love the Lord your God with all your soul and with all of your might. Hold on tight as you go, teach them what you know. they grow. Teach them so they know. Teach them so they know.
As Mark and Wendy and I were going over the preparation for our Shabbat services today, we talked about which version of the Via Hafta we were going to do. And I wanted everyone to know that that version of the Via Hafta that we just sang was one that Wendy actually composed herself. And I said we should do that one because I remember when you wrote it. And the fact that we have the commandment to bring these words, to teach them to our children, to put them on the doorpost of our home, and that we have the ability to sing that version and to have your gift, the melody that you brought to us, is a treat. So I wanted to make sure everyone knew that that version was one that Wendy had written herself. Go, Wendy is right.
I gotta go write some more.
Okay, which prayer are you going to do next? And how many years ago did you write that one?
Oh, it's gotta be close to like 15.
I think so. I'm thinking like 13 or 14.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not gonna argue with the rabbi on Shabbat.
Why not? My husband does all the time.
Corey.
All right. We are going to continue now on page 10. High and exalted, great and awesome, God ever humbles the proud, raises the lowly, frees the imprisoned, redeems the afflicted, helps the oppressed, answering our people when we cry out. Praise to God Most High. Blessed is God and deserving of blessing. In great joy, Moses, Miriam, and all Israel responded with songs to you, all of them proclaiming.
Ya la la la, ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la la, ya la. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha netar b'kodesh. Norati lot osef eleh. Norati lot osef eleh. Adonai yimlot leolam va'ed. Ya la la, ya la la la, ya la la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la la, ya la.
Page 11 in the middle of the page. If you separate yourself from certain weekday activities, you might imagine each of these as a step away from the ordinary hectic world into the peaceful realm of Shabbat. Imagine yourself stepping away from a world of carrying money to a realm where everything is yours just for the looking. Stepping away from a world in which everything must be written down to a realm where all is grasped just in the listening. Stepping away from a world of frenzied traffic by walking down a quiet lane. Stepping away from a world soaked in artificial light, which needs to be turned on and off, into a realm where only the rising and the setting sun, the interplay of brightness and shadow, these things would light your life. Imagine.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינח. מתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor V'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Ha'akol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Gula Livnei B'neihem, L'man Shemo V'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atah Rav L'Hoshia, Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechayeh HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rochech Olim, Matir Asurim, Kayem Emunato, Ishenei Afar, Michamocha Baal Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, B'ne'eman atah lahachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please be seated. There is holiness when we strive to be true to the best we know. There is holiness when we are kind to someone who cannot possibly be of service to us. There is holiness when we forget what divides us and remember what unites us. There is holiness when we are willing to be laughed at for what we believe in. There is holiness when we love truly, honestly, and unselfishly. There is holiness when we remember the lonely and bring cheer into dark corners. There is holiness when we share our bread, our ideas, and our enthusiasm. There is holiness when we gather to pray to God who gave us the power to pray. O God of Israel's past, O God of this day, please join me on the top of page 15. God of all flesh, creator of all life, we praise you the Most High for the gift of life. We give thanks, O source of good, that life endures. Eternal and infinite one, help us to use our life for blessing, to live by your law, to do your will, to walk in your way with a whole heart. We thank you, eternal God, for the blessing of life. And now I invite us all to take a few moments for silent prayer. These are not the prayers found in your Siddur. These are the prayers that only you know, the prayers that fill your heart, thinking about the week that's passed, thinking about the month, thinking about the summer, about your loved ones, your friends, your community. We take this moment to turn inward, to offer our own silent prayers.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'enecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
And just as we offered our own silent prayers and we took that moment for ourselves, now we take a moment for our community. And we know that there are many amongst us, among our larger community, who are in need of prayers for healing on this Shabbat. Whether it's the effects of the last 2.5 years of the pandemic, or it's all the other diseases in the world that afflict us. We say a Misha Berach, right where the Torah service would go in the service. But we say the Misha Berach at that point because when we pray and say their names aloud together, somehow, some way, they hear and feel the strength of our community. And we hope that then God's blessing will fill their soul and provide them and their caregivers with the much needed healing, for they are in need. And so we are going to offer a Misha Berach on this Shabbat for Shandel Bat Frida Malka, Julie Borokoff, Margaret Raz, Carol Dubin, Samsara Vizcaya, Sharon Rotman, Bob Radke, Lyle Rubel, Jeannie Bass, Alan Turner, Steve Toplinski, Myron Dvorkin, Esther Cohn, Lisa Furstat, Terry Finch, Harav Alana Miriam Bat Chava, Faye Levin, Hachazan Sarah Rachel Bat Yocheved Alexander, Tia Barrett, Wendy Salzberg, Steve Plotkin, Kathy Peltz, Avram Ben Naftali, Emma and Max, Doug Cruz, Nadiva Sarah Batliba, Carol Rovner, David Goldstein, Marilyn Harmon, Chris St. Martin, Barry Bursack, Debbie Kelly, Susan Sack, Reza Svia Bat Shana Etta, Mary Frankowitz, Sophia Rubenstein, Alana Himmelfarb, Charmaine Hayden, Wendy Wiviet, Sue Weller, Kate Wilson, Yocheved Bat Rundle V'chaim, Walter Shapiro, Otto Feller, Avraham Bat Frida, Marla Chachowski, Michael Sychek, David Rotter, Helene Wallenberg, Peter Becker, Natalie Cohn, Teresa Drews, Yona Neri Bet Avraham Visara, Batya Bat Moshe Valiba, Keith Mandel, Jamie Cramen, Ela Bat Natan Vishoshana, Douglas Vreeland Shachet, Mark Cook, Peyton Cooper, Luke Keeley Roberts, Jason Roberts, Mark Berlin, Dr. Susie Mendelson, Lisa Feel, Alta Werner, Yaakov Ben Hindava Binyamin. Now, it's been many years since I pronounced some of those names, and I have no doubt that some of them may be pronounced differently, or that there are names not on this list that you would like to offer Misha Berach for today. So as my hand passes by your eyes, I invite you to say any names that were said incorrectly or that you want to add to the Misha Berach list now. We truly ask for a refuah shlema, a complete healing for all of them, And together we join together in Mishaberach.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Limotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mikor HaBracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
May they feel our prayers and the support the community offers when we join together. Yeah, sure, you can do O Say Shalom. I feel like it's time for a song, right?
Oh, say
Shalom
shalom.
bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu.
Oh,
Say shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu.
Oh, say shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Oh, say shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu.
We also want to say a Shabbat Shalom to everyone who is joining us from their home. Please know that you are filling our outdoor sanctuary tonight, and we are so happy to have you joining us in prayer this evening. So let's talk about Torah for a second. We talked about the Mishaberach goes right in the place where the Torah portion would be. So, who knows what this week's Torah portion is? Don't worry, I'm not going to let that long of a pause. I'll answer it. It is a double Torah portion, the Torah portion of Matot Maseh. Now, the question is, why is there a double Torah portion? What is that all about? So, in terms of the Hebrew calendar year, we know that we have to line up the lunar calendar with the Gregorian calendar. And so in the Gregorian calendar, there are 52 weeks. You would think there are 52 Torah portions, right? But in the Jewish calendar, we have a different number of weeks. And so certain years, we have Torah portions, depending on whether there's 1 month of Adar or 2 months of Adar, remembering that Adar is the month in which Purim falls. That's the month that can be doubled or not. So some Torah portions are singular some years, and there's Matot 1 week and Maseh the next week. And then other years, they are grouped together. And so this week we have a double Torah portion, Matot Maseh. It is the last Torah portion in the book of Numbers, and as you like, in the end of a book, it's a good summation of a chapter, a reminder of what we talked about, and in the case of the book of Numbers, a reminder of some wandering. About 40 years of wandering, and the book of Numbers really talks about all that the Israelites have been through as they wander in the wilderness. So this week's Torah portion talks about vows. It talks about the apportioning of land. It talks about lots of other things to remember as we're getting ready to go into a promised land and as we summarize the book. So it's the last in the book of Numbers, and we know that the book of Deuteronomy is going to come next Shabbat. So as I approach Torah each week, I think about, one, the overall Torah portion. I read both Torah portions together. And then I think about how I would have read it last year and the year before, and how it might be different next year. It's funny that if I were to go back to my notes for 22 years of bringing Torah portions to life since I was ordained a rabbi, I know I haven't aged at all, have I? Just kidding. I appreciate each and every one of these gray hairs. So when I approach the Torah portion, I think about where I am this year. I imagine that this year is different than last year, not just for me, but for you as well. I imagine within our country, within our state, within our world, this year is different than last year, is different than 3 years ago and 5 years ago. And so as I read through the entire Torah portion, I think about the messages that jump out to me this year. So this year, I am struck by two parts that I think fit together to offer a lesson for this Shabbat. The first is in the Torah portion, Matot, the first Torah portion. Aaron, the high priest, ascended Mount Hor at the command of Adonai, and there he died in the 40th year after the Israelites had left the land of Egypt on the first day of the 5th month. Aaron was 123 years when he died. So, the first thing that struck me about this Torah portion is the idea of legacy. What does it mean for Aaron, the high priest, to live that life, to have had some rocky moments, we know, in his relationship with Moses and Miriam and the Israelites and God, but also to truly have amazing, inspiring moments of leadership? What is Aaron's legacy? What do we think about as we reflect on the last days of Aaron's life? That's the first message in the Torah portion. The second is the mention of Zelophehad's daughters. Now, I don't know how many of you were here last Shabbat, and I don't know if Rabbi Pazlowski talked about Zelophehad's daughters, but they deserve talking about every Shabbat. So, Zelophehad had 5 daughters. And when they were talking about apportioning land, there was a problem. Zelophehad had 5 daughters and no sons. And how was land apportioned in biblical times? Was it through all the daughters? No, of course not. It was through the merit of the sons. Well, last week's Torah portion, Zelophehad's daughters came forward and they said, Moses, could you go to God and can you tell him this is not okay with us? Now, that moment takes courage to stand before Moses and God and say, this law is unjust. Zelophehad's daughters took that forward, and God said, their plea is correct. The law should be changed. And so in last week's Torah portion, they talked about Zelophehad's daughters. But wait, I keep talking about last week's Torah portion. But this week's Torah portion mentions Zelophehad's daughters again. And it talks about the fact that they did indeed marry from the clan of their father's tribe, and so all the land stayed in the family because of the law that Zelophehad's daughters stood up for. Why are Zelophehad's daughters mentioned 2 Torah portions in a row? 5 daughters. Why? That's the thought that I had in this Shabbat. As my friend Rashi, who is a medieval commentary, who lived, a couple thousand years ago, as Rashi said, there are no superfluous words in the Torah. Each and every word is intentional. Well, if that's the case, the fact that Zelophehad's daughters are enumerated twice is very intentional, because it reminds us of the rights of women and of the importance of women in the Torah. Now, people can read the Torah and say, women are not talked about so much in the Torah, they don't have rights. And in reality, we know that the voice of the woman is heard less than the voice of the men. But when we have 2 Shabbatot where we get to stop and mention Slofachad's daughters and them changing a law, that is where we can acknowledge the rights of women. And it is not unintentional that 2 weeks in a row we get to talk about them. So, I think, as I read this Torah portion on this Shabbat, in fact, I think about the rights of women, and that's where I am on this Shabbat. But I also think about legacy. And this, of course, reminds me of a story. Because how else could a drash be without a story in which we can connect? So this one, remember I said it was Flashback Friday, is from Chicken Soup for the Women's Soul. And Rabbi Shapiro and I, when we were on the Bima together, had so much fun sharing stories from these books, because I think that when you have these stories, they allow us to take the lessons from Torah to life. So this story is from Rita Berenson, Chicken Soup for the Woman's Soul. And she talks about her mom. And it's a story that many of us can probably relate to. It was time for her mother to move from the home in which she lived by herself into a retirement community. And what happens when you need to move a parent, a loved one, into a different facility? You often have the children come and help out. So the author recalls how her sibling said to her, "Can you come? We're going to have just a few weeks to get her all packed up and to move." So Rita got to her mother's home, and she was ready to assess the situation. And she saw that there were 2 boxes packed. Nothing else in the house had been touched. In one box were 2 doilies that she had made before her wedding. And in the other box were 3 rolls of toilet paper. She took a breath and realized how the week was going to go. And her mother said, "Rita, I just can't do it. I don't know where to start." And she said, "It's okay. I'm here." So without putting anything else into a box, she spent the week with her mother, recalling stories, looking at photographs, driving to errands that her mother could no longer do because she wasn't able to drive anymore, getting her hair cut at her place where she was going to go for the last time because she was moving to a community about 100 miles away. And they were sitting looking out the window, and there was a beautiful lake outside their home, a lake that she remembers her mother walking day after day to look at the sunset, to look around the lake, to be outside appreciating nature. So that very next day, Rita said to her mother, "Would you go for a walk with me?" Her mother hadn't been able to walk around the lake in quite a while because she had her own health challenges. And her mother said, "I sure am ready." They started to go for a walk. Now it was about 3/4 of a mile around the lake. They did the first lap. Rita asked her mom, "Are you up for it? Can we go a second time?" "I'm ready." It was as though this newfound energy had filled her soul. They walked 2 times and then the 3rd time, and then they returned to their home. The next evening came, and Rita said, "Would you like to go for a walk again?" And her mother said, "I don't think I can. I think that it was so much yesterday that I need a break." Well, that continued for the next number of days. But that didn't stop all that they were doing together. The sharing and the stories and happy hour, because at 4:55 each and every evening, her mother got the snacks ready, she got the drinks ready, they did a l'chaim together, and then they had some popcorn, they played canasta, they played pinochle, they played games together, and that's how they spent the week. As the week came to a close and there was still nothing packed, Rita said to her mother, "You know that tomorrow I'm going home, and my other siblings are coming to be with you. Would you like to go for another walk with me?" And her mother said, "I would love to, but I don't think I have the strength." "Okay, I totally understand." So Rita set out for her walk. She started walking. She got about halfway around the lake, and she turned around, and she saw a figure in a nightgown with a robe over it, because, she was in a hurry. And sure enough, it was her mom. And her mom caught up to her and she said, I couldn't let you go this last walk by yourself. I needed to do it with you. And her mom said, are you going to go for another lap? Rita, being the very wise daughter, said, I don't know, Mom. What do you think? And her mom said, could tell that she was thinking about the struggles, and she was thinking about her feet, and she was thinking about her energy level, and she said, no, I think, in fact, we should just go home. And Rita said, great, let's go home together. And they joined hands, and they walked back to her mother's house. And they knew that that was going to be their last walk, not their last walk ever, but their last walk at that lake in that home. Do you know how Rita's mom got her strength to walk home? Because they walked together. And that is the message on this Shabbat. As we think about a legacy, and we think about our relationships, and we think about women's rights, we think about walking together. It is finding people who need you to walk with them. It's finding your family members who want you to walk with them. It's walking with your children, with your neighbors, because we offer strength when we walk together. That's the message that Aaron leaves us when we talk about legacy, and Slofachad's daughters leave us. We are stronger when we walk together. And when we walk together, that is how we create a lasting, loving legacy. So with those thoughts in your minds, we wish one another a Shabbat Shalom and a Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will that this Shabbat we walk together and strengthen one another. Wendy and Mark? Brachtieh. Oh, the train is perfectly timed. So we're going to take this pause as we get ready to rise for Aleinu and let the train go by. I forgot about that.
And it's right on key.
It was right on time. I will tell you, that is something I forgot about outdoor services. That you never know when the train's going to go by right in the middle of services. We're just going to give it one more minute because we know those horns are not going to play nicely with Aleinu on page 18.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tei gdula l'yosef reshit, shelo asanu k'goyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'chol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד Ushemo, Echad.
We remain standing. We ponder the past. We think about the future. Where have we been? Where are we now? What is the connection? What heritage did I receive from my parents? What will I bequeath to my children? What gifts have I received from my brothers, my sisters, my friends? What can I give to others? Where does my people, my community fit into my life? If I can make someone's life better, I will not regret the past. If I can help someone grow, I will not fear the future. Oh God, let me make some mark on this world Let me create some image. Let me leave some memory of myself. If only, even for an instant, let me think or say, the world is better because I passed this way. We recall now the loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have taken into our hearts with our own. We are in Shiva in the first week of mourning for Rabbi Dov Marmar and Gary Mendelblatt. We are in Shloshim, the 30-day mourning period for Stephen Glick, Richard Lisberg, and Debbie Silverman. And tonight, joining those names are those for whom we say Kaddish for Yartzeit on the anniversary of their passing. Milton Aaron, Dana Arnstein, Jordan Bazelon, Benjamin Berg, Morton Berkman, A. Arthur Cheris, Libby Chitlick, Ben Chitlick, Rose Cohen, Carola Frankenthal Epstein, Lena Fox, Herman Friedland, Alan M. Jeline, Charmaine Goldstein, Lillian Williams Gould, Edward Green, Barbara Gruber, Florence Hutkin, Irene S. Irvings, Foster Joseph Jacobson, David Jeffrey, Craig Kahn, Ross Codner, Harold B. Crum, Claire S. Crum, William Herbert Lave, Larry V. Lapidus, Jordan R. Levin, Jamie Lynn Levine, Molly Madelon, Clarence Newman, Elaine Pentler, Bernice Purston, Sharon Ross, Robert Roth, Ruth Rosrin, Leslie J. Sandlow, Inga Shopler, Samuel Shapiro, Frances Ruth Sheffield, Bunny F. Shire, Jack Silverman, Emil Weiss, Mendy Wolfson, Dorothy Zlotkin Collins. Are there other names to add to this list? The memories of all of them are with us. Our grief and sympathies are mingled. Loving God, together we praise your name on the top of page 20. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, b'yama divrach yurtei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mivarach le'olam omei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudashav b'reichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'imromav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the memories of each of them be for a blessing, for now and for always. Please be seated. Brent Arnold, do I have the privilege of calling you up to the outside beam off for announcements? Oh, good, I didn't get that one wrong. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Shama. It's really great to have you back here. It's a wonderful service, and thank you to Mark and Wendy Cohn also for joining us with their wonderful music and enhancing our service. What a wonderful evening we have tonight, and what a wonderful service. It is really great to be with all you in this wonderful wine garden. It is so nice to have this beautiful space for us to come together and pray together. I do have a couple announcements tonight. First, our Women of Shalom are hosting on Sunday at 1 o'clock an intro to Mahjong event. So please feel free to join into this and learning the fun strategy-filled game. The Shalom Votes campaign also reminds you that Wisconsin's next election is coming up on August 9th, and they hope to get everyone out to the polls and to get your vote in. Every vote counts, and your vote matters to our democracy. On Friday, August 12th at 8 p.m., our Shalom Summer Musical Series returns with a concert of the amazing Israeli conductor Yaniv Denur as well as cellist Peter J. Thomas. We really hope that you can come and check this out. Planning is also still underway for a Shalom family trip to Israel over Hanukkah this year. Rabbi Noah is looking to travel to Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, northern Israel, and the Negev with our congregational families. If you're interested, there's a form to fill out, or you can speak to Rabbi Noah. On Saturday, August 20th, from 9 a.m. till noon, we'll be returning to the Hunger Task Force, their brand new location, to volunteer and sort and pack food. Thanks to our lifetime trustee, Jim Ross, for coordinating all this. We look forward to add to our previously more than 1 million pounds of food that we've already sorted there. Please let Jim know or our office if you're interested and would like to participate. Also, a reminder that every Wednesday from 2 o'clock until 3 o'clock, Shalom has partnered with JFS, Jewish Family Services, to provide a grief support group. If you're interested, more information is available in our weekly email. Hope to see you soon at our daily Minyan services, our Saturday Torah studies, our Shabbat services, and our Saturday luncheons. We also welcome you to participate on Tuesdays in our adult education classes and on Thursdays with our What's New conversations. Thanks again to you all for being here tonight to partake in this beautiful service. A reminder that Kiddush is in our Pivar foyer tonight, which is just inside the doors here. And I hope you take this time to rest, take this time to enjoy the rest of your weekend, and all to have a blessed Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. Yes.
Okay. So before we conclude, we are going to do candles and Kiddush and Pivar foyer, and I have the honor of inviting some newlyweds to come forward to light the Shabbat candles. Rachel and Charlie Goodman were married July 3rd. Rabbi Noah and I had the joy of officiating together. And so they're in their first month after their wedding, and they get to come and lead us in candles and Kiddush. So Charlie and Rachel.
No. Were you wearing white?
I was. Here, Rachel, page. We're on page 22, if you would like to follow along.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner, v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner, v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner. Shel Shabbat.
Praise you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who hallows us with your mitzvot and commands us to kindle the Shabbat lights.
Amen.
Amen.
I think we're going to do the blessing here, and then we'll join together in drinking the Kiddush in Pivar foyer. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
All right. You can raise it
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen amen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava u'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh bereshit ki hu yom techilah l'mikrae kodesh zecher l'tziyat Mitzrayim אותנו קידשת מכל העמים, בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת. Amen.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
You're not going to spill this one, right?
Very slowly.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
And that's also why they had white wine in the Kiddush cup on their wedding day.
Oh, good choice.
Rachel and Charlie, Mazel Tov on your wedding, and thank you for blessing us with your newlywed presence on this Shabbat. It's so nice to have both of you here. Mark and Wendy, what's our closing song going to be?
Something that everybody can sing along with. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
I invite you to turn to someone that you don't know who's sitting on either side and wish them a Shabbat Shalom. It's nice to be together. After you wish one another Shabbat Shalom, if you would like to go into P-Bar Foyer to grab some Kiddush so you can partake. And Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Have a wonderful week.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Come on, you should have come up here and done the thing.
There you go. You can test.
I agree.
You can take the rabbi out of the temple, but you can't take the temple out of the rabbi.
You could never take this temple out of the rabbi. Well, thank you. That means a lot.
Thank you all. Beautiful
Thank you.
Terrific
service.
rhythm and upbeat and, pleasure to, people could be here and see it and come out. I might even come a second time.
So nice to have you back.
Thank you. So nice to
Start
be
off
here
with
with
a
you here tonight. Always a pleasure to see you.
Duet next week.
Got it, do it.
Thanks. Such a treat to be with you.
Lots of memories.
I believe that there is a basket right over there.
Hi, Diane. How are you?
Hi, Mike. Shabbat Shalom.